All right, it looks like we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Barth. I'm the Executive Director of World Accord and I guess the MC for this virtual conference. So welcome back to the virtual conference on global solidarity, or welcome for the first time to it if you haven't tuned into any of our other ones. So this afternoon, we're having a wonderful discussion around the tiny house. So we have Megan Gilbertson has been on construction trips and running construction trips with us for more than 14 years now, and so she's got tremendous experience there. And her partner Josh has got lots of construction experience, and they have designed and built a tiny house, and they're going to be sharing that information with you. Before we get started on that, though, just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming back and joining us. I'd like to say thank you to our partners down in Central America and in Nepal, as well as Troy Roach, who is doing all the magic behind the curtain. So he's the one who's making all the technology work this afternoon for us. If you feel so inspired, there is an opportunity to make donations. There will be a comment box underneath the video where you can find a link to be able to make a donation. And if you can't find it there, you can always go to www.worldaccord.org and you can make a donation there if you feel so moved. But the whole idea about global solidarity and sustainability really comes down to this type of thing, like people doing gardening, people building a tiny house, people trying to have a lighter footprint, and there's other reasons for doing it as well. And I think Megan and Josh will share some of that with you too. So I will let you go ahead, Megan, and take it away, and you and Josh can share the information on your tiny house. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we're going to start off with why we went tiny, because that's one of the questions we get a lot. And it's possibly slightly different for us. For me, I wanted a life where I could travel. I wanted a life where I didn't necessarily have to live in the city, but I could if I wanted to. I also was kind of done with living with roommates. I am now 28 and did not want the roommate life anymore, but was also not excited about having a house, which would mean a mortgage payment and just not being able to do anything. So for me, it provided all the freedom that came with, and not the lockdown state that having my own house would.
For me, yeah, same thing. I just want to be able to be mobile and also be able to live in a nice house, a reasonably sized nice house without roommates for the same price as what you would pay for rent to rent one bedroom.
Yeah. So that's kind of why we went tiny. I've also been watching a whole lot of tiny house videos before I started this process. And for other people, it also has to do with wanting to work less, wanting more time with their kids. A lot of people do it because they don't have a high paying job and they want the payments that they get in the job that they really enjoy to be able to cover their living costs. Some younger people do it just as a school project, and then they realize they love it and they decide to live there, which is kind of exciting. There's also a huge movement where people put them on Airbnb. I think that more or less covers it. Of course, living off the grid for some. For others, they don't. They have a hookup for water and electrical. For us, we will not have a hookup for electrical. We're going to put solar panels on. And for water, we're going to have a hose connection that comes in from the property that we're at. But we also have water tanks that can be attached if we need them for traveling or if we're in a place where we need some water storage. Design-wise, there's many different ways to design. We went with one that works for us, but people who have kids have also put multiple lofts, which decreases your head height whilst you're in the house, but has multiple bedrooms or storage possibilities as well if you don't need the extra bedrooms. There's many people that I've seen who've had 2, 3 kids in there, which I thought was nuts, but they love it because also for them, they sometimes live in a hotter environment where their living space is outside. So they don't need inside space as their main living space. But I can show you our design. Let's see if I can you screenshot? I'm going to show you our design quickly. So this is part of it. Partly for us, we wanted support, so that's the support system. But I'm gonna go and try and show you our interior design. Here's some of the pictures that we will be going through in a little bit when we get more into specifics of what we decided, but it's a brief overview type thing. We also have goats on the farm that we're at, which is something that we could not have if we didn't have a tiny house. We're also planning on purchasing a couple of those goats in the future.
So you can do that with your fingers on the screen.
Ah, look, fancy things. Now I've ruined it.
I think it's zooming in the page.
Sorry, trying to figure out Josh's computer as we go. But yeah, so this is, once we get it up, our basic floor plan, which I designed way before we started building on an app. A very simple app. It's called Floor Plan, basically Floor Plan application. And you can move things, you can figure out what would work for you, you can put your measurements on it. And for me, I'm a visual person, so I had to have that in my head before I could figure out anything else. So as you can kind of see, this is the basic floor plan for us.
You can use the mouse too.
I guess I can point things out slightly. So this is our slide out that we really wanted because all of this space in the middle, it's about a 8 by 10 foot space that is just bare. So you walk in and the house feels really open. It feels really big. The ceiling is about 10 feet in that area. So it feels really big and airy, and there's windows everywhere. There's a quite large window, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 foot window at the end of the slide out. And these are double doors where it's all glass more or less. So for us as well, that was important, that it was really big feeling and that it had a lot of windows. So you were partly in the outside the whole time. I had seen a lot of other models where there was a kitchen here, which was originally one of our plans, or there was a whole couch here and they didn't have the slide out, so their couch took up most of the living space. And that just felt really small and cramped for me, and I didn't want to live somewhere where I felt like I was living in a tiny house. So for us, this bump out was very big, and it comes out 4 feet and is 10 feet wide. And mainly it's a single bed in here. And then there's storage on either side that's maybe a foot deep and goes up the full height of the slide out, which is, I don't know, 6 feet high, 6, 7 feet high, is what the slide out is, the height of the slide out. And it just provides the couch area. It also provides an extra bed for if people come to stay. Eventually, we're hoping to have a projector and to have a screen that can come down over the double doors. So you can sit on the couch and then your projector will project over top of where the double doors are. And for us, that was important because you can have all the storage under the couch. You can have the storage on either side. We have a lot of camping stuff, kayaking stuff, rock climbing stuff that was kind of non-negotiable. It had to fit in the house somewhere. So that kind of became the solution as to where it would go, was these side pieces as well as the basically 4x10 area under the couch. There's also part of our kitchen storage that is in this storage area. There's going to be a big drawer at the bottom that you can pull out and access at least 2 layers of canned goods and other dried good stuff. And then this is our kitchen on the left-hand side, where we've got the sink, the stove, and the fridge. We'll go a bit more into the different types that there are of stoves and fridges for the off-grid, low usage models. But the idea behind the design is there's a little bay window that comes out here in front of the sink and the stove. So it makes it feel bigger. It's got windows on both sides as well that are tall ones, and you can pass food out either side, which I really like the idea of. Although this one on the far side, we are planning to put a living, like a hydroponics type system up and down the entire window. It's maybe 2 feet by 4 or 5 feet high, something about that size. It's a decently tall, skinny window, and you can't really see it because the fridge is going to be here, and it sticks out maybe 2 feet. So that entire space, you couldn't see the window unless you were at the sink. So my idea was to fill it with plants and just have it be the plant window. And you can have all your herbs, you can have some lettuces, and it's easy access from the kitchen. So that was the idea of that window. And then we've got our electrical and batteries underneath this counter space beside the fridge. And under this space, we'll probably have garbages. And we've also got our tank right in the corner here beside the sink, which will be our gray water tank. So the water will go from the sink into that tank. And if we're moving, it stays in the tank. But if we're situated, it will go out of that tank into something that's called a French drain. We can talk a bit more about that later. But the French drain is how we're going to deal with our gray water. Since we have a composting toilet, all of our water will be, like all of our gray water will just have potentially some cleaning products, which can all be eco products, and potentially food scraps and things. So it's all stuff that can easily go back into nature and doesn't have to go through a big process to make it safe again. That's the kitchen. And then over here, we've got a little wood burning fireplace, which will be the second source of heat, because the entire length of the tiny house, we have a in-floor heating system. And there's 2 ways of doing it. You can either do it electric or you can do it water. And we chose water, partly because we're not going to be hooked up to electric all the time. And we don't want to have hundreds of solar panels. That might have to be how much you'd have to power a floor heating system. But with the water one, we have a hot water tank, which has a loop that goes through it for the floor and a loop that goes through it for our domestic hot water for showers and things. And it's all propane, and that was our solution for our primary heat. And it's one of the most efficient heating systems as well. So yeah, that's our primary source. And then when the little wood burning stove is going, then it can be turned off and we don't have to use it. But then when the fire would burn down at night, it would signal on the thermostat that it's getting colder, and it would turn the floor on to maintain that heat. And then this over here, this other green rectangle, is our bar table. It's also going to be at a height where I can use it as a standing desk, or Josh can use it as a standing desk. It's going to be a puzzle table, a dining room table, also has a nice big window that goes the full length of it behind it. And possibly, we're still discussing this, but it's possible that it will also be able to fold up or down for extra seating room if guests come. And then we have our stairs, which of course have storage underneath them. I'll show you a bit more of that later. And then bathroom. So our bathroom is so large because right over top of it is our sleeping area in a loft. And the head height of the bathroom is 6'2". 6'2". It's 6'2". So people who are taller than 6'2" have to duck slightly. But we are not. We are both 6'10". Sorry, 5'10", not 6'10". That would be ridiculous. We are both 5'10". So for us, this worked. And it meant we could have a 5 foot by 2 foot bathtub, which I was quite excited about, which is also our shower. And we'll show you the bathtub later. It's an old, not old, but a galvanized feed trough, which is how farmers water their cows and things, which I thought was quite fun. And then we have our clothing storage in here. We also have our washer dryer and a laundry chute, which I get that it's a tiny house, and having a laundry chute is slightly ridiculous because there's not that many stairs to walk from, but I thought it would be really cool to have a trapdoor in the loft area, and then you take the trapdoor out, you throw your laundry that you have gathered in the loft down the chute, and it comes down right on top of where your washer dryer is. So that was my other fun idea that I got excited about. And this is our composting toilet and sink and all the rest. And then on the loft, which you can't see at the moment, it goes this space. So it is 9 by 10? No, 9 by 8. 9 feet by 8 feet is our loft. And the eventual plan is that it will also have a balcony. You'll see the door that goes out the back of the loft, but the idea is that it will also have a balcony that goes out the back on this area, but on the second story. And there's a door in the bathroom as well, partly so emptying the composting toilet is easy, and partly as a second entrance in case of fire, or just in case we have the projector screen down and people still would like to enter and exit. That is our second entrance. And yeah, that's more or less the design. A friend of mine has been designing hers, and hers is quite different. She does not have the pop out, and hers is 10 feet wide, which means that when you move it, you have to get a special permit to move it, because the minimum that you can move without a permit is 8.5 feet wide, which ours is. It might be an inch or so over, but for the most part, it's 8.5 feet, and we're hoping they don't notice the inch or so over. But yeah, so it has to be 8.5 feet. Ours is 32 feet long, and then with the water tanks on the back, probably add a couple more feet, so 34 feet long. But my friend's is 10 feet by 40 feet long. So it's much bigger, but you also need the special permit since it's wider than you're allowed to have down the road. And this slide out, when we move it, just slides into that floor space. And it will hopefully be easy to push, so we can just take the jacks out that will be underneath it and then push it in. And the design of that, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Let's just go through the pictures.
All right, we'll go through the pictures and we'll go through it that way.
Be able to describe that over.
That's
in
fair.
the chat.
The other design of my friends, the differences that they do is that she has it that her kitchen is bumped up, which means that you can store all the batteries and all the water tanks underneath the kitchen in that floor space, but it has to go up a few steps. Another large design feature is that she has her bedroom on the bottom floor, and it's at the one end of the house. And it's just a tiny little room where it's just the bed and then a couple shelves around the outside, because she didn't want to need to go up. But she also has loft space that is extra bedroom space as well as storage space, which is awesome. I just felt it lowered the head height too much for the living area, and I wanted large ceilings. So that was the compromise we made. What else is different between ours?
Just go through the pictures.
I think that's the main differences, but there's loads of fun different ways you can design it to fit what you want from a space. And we're going to talk about our specifics a little bit more. You want to take over for welding and things?
Sure. So, this is the beginning.
Hip. Sorry, our pictures jumped slightly, so we might be going back and forth a bit.
So this is us building the slide out when we first got the trailer. Basically, the way it works is there's rollers that sit in here and on top, and these tubes slide inside of these other tubes, and the floor will sit on top of these uprights. Will be sitting here, and the floor will go across the floor of the trailer, and there will be wheels on the inside of the house too.
So it's kind of like a
So it'll
sandwich.
support.
If this
Yeah.
is the trailer, then there's wheels on the top and there's wheels on the bottom. And it kind of goes like that. But we custom ordered the trailer before we modified it with the slide out. And it came basically as you saw it there with the black frame and then the steel on the bottom. And what we did was we spray foam insulated the entire base, the inside, so steel's on the bottom. We spray foamed all those inside pieces and then put our flooring on top of that so that it was really well insulated.
I'm going to start from the beginning. Yeah.
So since we have the gigantic slide out on the one side, and that's got extra support, we wanted extra support on the other side to kind of counterbalance it. So this is a beautiful birch tree, which we found at a nearby woodworking shop. It's about this big, I don't know, 8 inches, 10 inches. And that is beauty factor, as well as being a support so that it doesn't wobble as much, because we chose to go with 2x4 walls instead of 2x6 walls, which is normally what people would build a tiny house out of, or build any house out of, is 2x6 walls. But we decided to reinforce it slightly and go with 2x4 walls so that we'd have a larger inside space. Is there any other reasons?
No, but that is kiln dried so that it doesn't shrink
Right.
and pull the wall and the ceiling together.
Yeah, the support is. It's been drying for 4 years or something, you said? As well.
So this is an old picture. We have the loft in the back here. We've got our wiring and the double doors are here. Bathrooms in the back here.
And you can see the floor with all the supports. This is how we chop the angle. This is us being ridiculous. Those were the lights we decided to put in.
That's the slide out. We have storage all under here, and we have a bed or a couch on top here, and also storage on the sides, as well as tables on either side.
Yeah, I was just saying there you can see the floor. So we spray foamed in all of that, and then we had to put plywood, and then our in-floor heating sits inside like grooves, and it's a pre-made board that you buy called warm board, and you just insert the pipe pretty much, and they give you a layout, and you have to router a few new lines, but for the most part it's all laid out for you already. This is doing some of the electrical work. So this is our loft at the top, and then that's where our bathroom is at the bottom. And the loft height as a visual, I can sit on it, and then I can put my hand up and my fingertips are touching. But it's quite large, which is why we wanted that instead of a head height in the bathroom that was higher.
Quick question there, Megan. This little door that you have on the left side, at least it looks like a door on the left side, that's going to be a door out to your upper deck, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay, sorry, carry on.
No worries. And in the future, so we might have slightly run out of money, so that might be put on hold for a little bit. But that's the future idea, is that it will go out, and it's about 4 feet high, our loft. How high is our loft?
It's 5 feet.
It's 5 feet?
Yeah.
So our deck would have to be able to be whatever the height of our loft is, so that it can fold up when we're driving. And we're thinking of putting a mesh part, so it's like a hammock, because it would be harder to hang a hammock in here. And as you know, I go to Honduras every year, and you have to have a hammock somewhere in your house. So that was part of the hammock solution, was that the deck goes out, and then there's a rectangular cutout, and it's either mesh, or I might go to Honduras and proposition my friend Beta to make me a hammock that is from her material, but that in that way that I could somehow fasten it to this homemade hammock stand. It's just a rectangle with nothing underneath. And then from there, there'll be a little ladder that you can clamber onto the roof, and it's 10 feet above our loft that's flat, and then it slopes at 1 inch per foot down the rest of the roof.
So it'll be a deck on the roof too.
Yeah.
This is the outside. Double doors are here. The double doors are in now. And there's the slide out.
Slide out from the outside. More pictures of the outside. You can see there's many windows. Later on, there'll be a picture of the entire outside, the one side. But yeah, that's the slide out from the outside.
And we decided to get a 3-axle trailer. Just in case we do go overweight, we don't have to worry about it. With a tandem, it would have been close. We would have probably been still underweight, but now we have we don't have to worry about it at all. And it will lower the tongue weight a little bit if we have to pull it with a lighter vehicle. So when it started getting cold out, we decided to buy this shelter, this tarp shelter, so we could work inside and not have to worry about everything freezing and getting snow on it.
It's been a lifesaver. It's about 40 feet by 10 feet.
Yeah, 40 feet by 20 feet.
So what time did you start the construction? What time of the year was that?
Started in August.
Last year.
Okay, so you worked through the winter in this thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
most
okay.
work was done in the winter. Yeah.
Did you use some kind of a heater inside the tent?
We have a little kerosene
yeah.
heater. We had a propane salamander, but we started having problems with it, so we switched to a kerosene heater that was given to us. And yeah, it worked pretty good. The propane salamander kept it pretty warm, but we weren't heating the whole thing. We were just heating it inside the tiny house.
Right.
Trying to heat inside this tarp shelter would have been harder.
Yeah. And our house, once it had spray foam in it, kept the heat pretty well. So partly behind it, and we borrowed random dogs throughout the procedure. This is just my Facebook album of the entire process, but it's on a beautiful farm as well, which is why I like that you can have tiny houses, because people who will let you park it on their farm. You can just enjoy their farm for the time that you're there and all the creature wonders. This is our bathtub. So this is our galvanized feed trough. It is 5 feet long and 2 feet wide. Comes up quite high. I think it's 2 feet high, which might be slightly ridiculous for some people to step into. But filling up for a bathing experience is awesome. We haven't filled it up yet, but I'm hoping the next few rainstorms will maybe fill it up and I can try out an outdoor bath before it moves into the tiny house. We've got what it will be sitting in done, but it's not in the house quite yet. This is our water tank holder, which Josh is using as a coffin. And this is, that was us framing in the slide out. This is us putting up our tarp shelter. So it came all in pieces, and then we had to figure out what all the pieces meant and put them all together, which was a fun puzzle in and of itself. If we didn't have the house in the middle, pulling the tarp over top would have been impossible. But we stood on the house and pulled it up halfway, and then we're able to pull it up the other half of the way, just us two.
So the plan all along was to build through the winter, and so you kind of recognized that winter is coming and put up the tent while it was still warm. To see everybody looks like.
We almost talked ourselves out of buying it, and then when we did buy it, we even talked about returning it. But we are really glad that we had it, because we thought, well, we can spend a lot less money and buy or rent a shipping container or something to put our tools in. But this was way better. And we ended up selling it. We paid basically $3,500 for it. So.
And we've sold it for a good cost. So
Excellent.
We lost pretty much nothing on it. So it was well worth the investment. And this is the outside, the one side. This is our lovely little bay window in the kitchen. This is the back. These are at the earlier stages. That's the other side. That's where the slide out is. You can see all of our many, many windows. Having fun. This is the roof. And putting up all the sides, which was quite an adventure. A couple of the long slides. Oh, look, we might have a movie in here somewhere. Yep, no sound. This is just going around it when we had the spray foam in it. That's me. A friend visited and took the video. There's Josh. But yeah, so that's all the spray foam. We got a company to come and do it. There's Helen. But yeah, that was once all of our wiring was in and we were ready to go. Sorry. This is our beautiful tree once it was spray foamed around. Like, these are more silly videos. It's Josh tucking in a dog so she wasn't cold. This is our gray water tank for the bathroom. So I was talking about the little one that was at the front. That was for the kitchen sink. And this is the one at the back of the house for the bathroom area. So a lot of people put the bathroom and the kitchen together right beside each other so they can use the same gray water tank. And for us, we went slightly the opposite and put them at opposite ends, which means we have to have 2 outlets and 2 tanks and 2 French drains, which is slightly more work setup wise when you drop your French drain, but we like the layout of the house better with them at opposite ends. The other way you can do it is have more space in the floor, so your pipe can go from one end to the other end and attach to the same gray water tank, but that would have meant decreasing head height and or having a step
Or pumping it.
or pumping it. And pumping involved electricity, and we just decided to go with the 2 gray water tanks instead of doing all that. So that was our solution.
Got a comment from Honduras for you.
Oh,
It's actually from Miner Pavon, who's the executive director of PRR down in Honduras. He says, excelente iniciativa. It's an excellent initiative. He says, bendiciones desde Honduras, which means blessings from Honduras on your house.
that's awesome. Thank you, Miner. Muchas gracias para las bendiciones. Me alegra que se puede ver la casita de yo. And todos los stages, all of the, I don't know stages in Spanish. El proceso, the process. This is, aquí tenemos el machete. So this is our machete that Josh is sharpening at the moment, which was used on many different things throughout the building process. I didn't know how useful a machete would be until it was used to chop out corners of things or take off the insulation where it was not supposed to be. But yeah, I was quite proud that we had a machete throughout the process. This is where we have all of the plywood on the inside. So there's many different ways of doing the inside. For us, we decided to go with a material called cork, and it came in big squares, tiles, I guess you could say. And we'll show you that a bit later on, but that meant that we had to put plywood on the inside before we put that on, whereas if you'd done some other type of covering on the inside, that layer of plywood may not have been necessary.
It also adds strength since we only have 2 by 4 walls.
Yeah. And what are the thicknesses of plywood?
We put 5/8 on the outside and 1/2 inch on the inside and 3/8 on the ceiling.
So this is the warm board that the tubing laid in is what we're laying on the bottom now. And then you cut the lines in and you put the tubing in and away you go. And you can see the wheel wells on either side, which also, if you look at my design, the one side is covered up by the bar table, the other side is where the stairs are. And this is, oh, that's cutting, that's the very handy pot lid face shields for cutting the lines that weren't already in the floor into the floor. Oh no, I lie, that's the door. Because our doors were not regular heights, so we had to shave off one side of them. Those are our lovely French doors when they're in with all the glass. And that's it from the other side. These are our little doors at the back. Our glass doors from the outside. I don't know if you need to see these videos. Oh, look, these are the goats. I suppose we can watch a goat video. So these are the goats that are on the farm, which we were very excited to hear that they were coming. We didn't know they were going to be a thing.
Okay, that tiger kind of was scary. Eh? We saw the goats and then we saw a tiger go after him. Sandy jumped in her seat.
Yeah, the tiger was Josh, but they're all excited and they all run to him. But they're now much bigger than that. And we're hoping to buy a couple of them to be the grass cutters
Sure.
and potentially learn how to milk goats. So that's another fun benefit of being in the country with tiny house living, is that you can have goats, because
Yep.
he for now doesn't allow that, which is silly.
I just want to be aware of the time. You're at about, what are we at here? About
Wow.
10 after 5 right now. So you may want to think about starting to show us the kind of where you've gotten to so far.
Sounds good. So that's our kitchen. That was our toilet before it was inside. Josh making stairs, a stool. So that's the process of our stairs. We've been living there for a while now. Let's slow down a little bit. More goats, more goats. But we've been living there for a while, and it's been partly done. So we had a little cook stove outside, and this is part
These
of
are more
the
pictures of the stairs.
process of making the stairs. And we have some interesting storage things in our stairs. So there's the one at the bottom that has 2 cupboard doors going into it. And then one of the stairs partway up has a flip up so that we can use that space. And then the 2 stairs at the very bottom, sorry, something's happening with the computer. But the 2 stairs at the very bottom, they come up together, so that the bottom 2 stairs, you have that entire space, a storage room, instead of just a tiny little space or needing to access it from the bottom or reach all the way down. We just decided it would be easier for those 2 stairs to come up together, which was, I thought, going to be very difficult, but Josh made it happen, which is usually how it works.
You can see the cork in the background on the wall a little bit.
Right.
I don't know if there's better pictures.
There are some better pictures. So this is what we did today. It's the trim that goes around the windows, and that's us staining it in the sunshine this morning, which is always fun. And our bathtub and ladder being the beautiful drying rack. You use what you have type thing. This is our composting toilet. It's a Sunmar. It's slightly large, but it means that we only have to empty it out every 2 months, was it?
Mhm.
Yeah, once every 2 months. And you crank it every 2 days. You crank it. And you put 2 scoops of wood chips in, and you can put toilet paper in, and when it's vented, it shouldn't smell that much. The fact that it's not vented now, it's not entirely pleasant, but doable. This is our water heater inside the closet. That's our ceiling, so it's cedar, and you can see the cork on the walls as well. That's the front with the bay window and the slide out on the left. This is also one of our upper cabinets, which will hold our very extensive sound system, which was one of the things Josh wanted. And those are our beautiful stairs, finished with acacia, and these 2 bottom ones completely flip up, so you can access that space underneath. And this one here has the little flip top.
And there will be doors on those holes.
And there will be doors on those holes. It won't just be open cupboards. There's more stair pictures. The acacia we got really cheap from a guy who custom makes cabinets. This is our loft. They're beautiful 3 windows, our ceiling, and we have all the flooring down here now as well. Don't judge me on not making the bed this morning. These are our cabinets. We're in the process of staining them, so they're in the middle of the room at the moment. But they are handmade cabinets, and they are in the U, like you saw in the outline, the layout. So this is one side, and then the 2 cabinets will connect at the back, so you can reach through. There's our little bay window. More staining. More cabinet shots. There's 3 cabinets, and 2 aren't very wide, so there's more space in the middle for walking. This is our little heater. This has heated us on all the freezing cold nights. It's just a kerosene tank on the side that you fill up, and then it just goes and goes and goes. This is underneath. This is our gray water tank from the bottom, which is where it'll come out and then go into a French drain system. And you can see all the spray foam coming out the bottom. And that's the end of our tarp shelter and potentially the end of our pictures. Yeah. So if you have any questions, I think we have 15 minutes. Yeah.
Most of the folks have been kind of wrapping it up at around 40. So we do have time for some questions if people want. I do have a question for you. Can people just go to your Facebook page? Are you allowing people to see those pictures without having to be your friend, or they need to friend you first?
I am totally okay if they're not my friend. I don't know if it's set like that at the moment. I can try and figure out if it is and allow people to view it either way. I don't think you have to be my friend to see my albums. But yeah, my name's Megan Gilbertson, Megan Gilbertson. And yeah, you should be able to go through them and you can ask us any questions.
Cool. So far I've just seen the comments of some of the folks that talked about it. And again, Miner kind of has shared the stream as well down in Honduras. So I think you got maybe some people in Honduras interested in your tiny home as well.
That would be good. That's the dream one day, is to bring it down there for a bit. But
yeah,
it's a lot of wood and they do have termites. But maybe I can just like sprinkle powder on the wheels that deters them.
Yeah. So your overall budget for the project?
Well, we started at aiming for 40,000. Then we started aiming for 50,000. Now we're just over 50,000 and we don't have appliances yet. And we don't have siding on the outside. So it'll be 70,000.
Still quite an amazing savings over having to buy a house. What
But between the two of us too. So
yeah. How long do you think it'll take you to finish it? I know it's dependent on finances and everything's tight right now with COVID. So hopefully that'll loosen up for you at some point. But how many, I guess, days or months do you have left in labor, I guess is the question.
well, I want to take a week off at the beginning of June, the first week of June, I hope. And we will both go at it and hopefully get it done with 2 weekends in a week and be done. I want to have it for sure done by August. Be
Excellent.
on it.
Is it in its final resting place, or will you have to move it from where it's at?
So once we get the siding on the outside, then we can move it out of that shelter, and it just goes, I don't know, maybe 2 city blocks down to another part of the farm that we've already started, put a tarp out and started laying our plants out to plant there. So it's going to be more secluded. There's trees on all sides. We can have goats there and chickens there. And there's one other lady that's going to come put her tiny house in that spot as well.
Yeah, it's really coming together. I mean, I love some of the woodwork you've done. The staircase looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, and your birch little beam, the support on the one side, nice little piece that you put in there, you know, kind of really speaks to nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and Marjorie Echeverria, who's our newest board member, says, you know, she says it looks like a really nice job that you've got going on there. So I thought I would share that as well. And Megan just posted her photo album, or someone posted the photo album. So you can see that in the comments so that it's there. Anybody can take a look and see these pictures again. Do you have any documentation at all on there as well, or about what you've chosen in terms of you got your composting toilet and your brands and your various types of stuff? Do you have that available someplace as well? Can people write to you by email?
They can write to me by email. I did take a picture of our Navian water heater, which has the 2 in-floor heating and the other one. Our fridge, there's either a solar fridge or there's a propane fridge, or there's just a regular fridge, and we figure out how to power it. So there's different options depending on what sort of tiny house model. And we're either looking at the 24-volt fridge or the propane one. We've heard different things, pros and cons about both of them. So we're not sure what we're getting there yet. The stove is probably going to come from a company called Unique. It's a propane stove with a little battery ignition, so you don't need any electricity for it. Washer dryer, There's the idea of either propane washer dryer combo. We heard if it's all in one, then it doesn't dry very well. So at the moment, we're potentially not going to have a dryer, with the possibility of putting one in because it draws a lot of electricity, or even potentially going with a propane one and an electric washing machine. But there's some things to play around with. It all depends on
Still
how
a few
much
choices.
you're willing to
Still a
put
few
in.
choices to make.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've decided on some, but not all.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, I had one more question about where are you going? What you doing with the compost from your composting toilet?
So the composting toilet can go into another composting pile for, I believe it's a year or two, and then can be put around the base of trees.
Okay.
Plants, but after it's been composting for a year, then it can go around trees, and that's totally fine. And there's loads of trees on property, and they have composting toilets and composters already going on the property, so we can just put it around their trees, and that's all good and dandy.
You got plans for the gray water? Is that going to be like for watering the garden, or?
Some of it can water the garden. The rest will just go down a French drain into the ground and
Okay. Excellent. All right. I don't see any other questions on here. So if you have any other final questions or comments you would like to share with us, make sure you post them. Otherwise, I'm going to let these guys get back to their day.
Tiny house building.
Tiny house building. So you're going to run back out there and do some more construction, are you?
Yeah, we're going to do a couple more things, a bit more on the garden, probably do another coat on the staining of the wood, and then have a bonfire tonight where everyone will be socially distanced. But it's a fire outside, so it's possible, and it's on a farm. But yeah,
Nice.
we'll have a couple people over tonight and have a bonfire. That's the plan.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll just let you go. But thank you so much for coming with us this afternoon and sharing your story. It's been a real pleasure learning about it. It looks like quite an undertaking, and I can certainly see the benefits of it. And you've put a lot of thought into both the design and construction. So congratulations! I think that's an amazing thing to go forward with. We look forward to seeing more pictures when it's all done.
Yeah.
And when social distancing is over, I want to come out and have a fire.
There will be a party at some point when it's all over, and everyone will be invited. And
all right. Well, I'm just going to say thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We start off again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Vicki MacArthur is going to be doing a nice little healing kind of event for us. I believe she's going to have some discussion. It's going to be like Nidra Yoga, and we'll be able to carry on from there. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your day. And again, if you'd like to leave a donation, I think that someone put a donation link in the comment section. So thank you very much. Thank you again, Josh and Megan, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great night.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.